It's unusual for a game to have a sequel released that's in a different genre. It happens, but it's unusual. And that's what's happened with Far Cry 2. The original Far Cry is a first-person shooter, but Far Cry 2 isn't. Far Cry 2 is an MMORPG, pretending to be a first-person shooter. Now, before you furiously respond with comments that I'm an idiot with a silly voice, at least hear me out. In an MMORPG, you travel around a large world, completing simple, repetitive tasks doled out by two-dimensional characters, and you perform these tasks in order to receive rewards like experience points, money coins, and items. All of these things make your character better, which means you can complete harder, simple, repetitive tasks for even greater rewards. The actual things you're doing, and why you're doing them, are, at least in a narrative sense, of absolutely no consequence. You just do them to make your character better. And in Far Cry 2, you travel around a large world performing simple, repetitive tasks, doled out by two-dimensional characters. And you perform these tasks in order to receive diamonds, which you can spend on equipment to make your character better, which enables you to more effectively complete the simple, repetitive tasks. The actual things you're doing, and why you're doing them, are, again, at least in a narrative sense, of absolutely no consequence. The only real difference is that in Far Cry 2, in order to progress, you have to complete quests. You can't just find a nice little dwarven mine and grind all day. But in every other way, the core gameplay model is such that Far Cry 2 is an online RPG in a first-person shooter's clothing. And that's actually not a bad idea, but Ubisoft didn't seem to realise they were making an MMORPG, so Far Cry 2 ends up being neither here nor there. Online RPGs don't work because of the quests. No one gives a shit why Zizel Bardbane wants you to kill 10 lions. They work because of the statistical character development. You invest time in your characters, and you see regular, albeit small, returns on your time as your character's power grows. And just about everything you can do in these games, quests, PvP, trade skills, farming, whatever, it all yields some form of reward, giving the game variety, and the activities a sense of meaning. Far Cry 2, on the other hand, well, just like an MMORPG, it isn't the quests that matter. But that's what really ruins Far Cry 2, because Far Cry 2 is nothing but quests. And all of them are either, go here and kill this guy, go here and get this item, or go here and blow up this thing. This would be acceptable, perhaps the lack of variety notwithstanding, if there was real RPG-style character development to back things up. But there isn't. There are no levels, no experience bars, and no statistics. The only way you can improve your character is by unlocking access to new weapons with your diamonds, which is a little bit like investing points in statistics in an MMORPG, but just a little bit. You can also upgrade the weapons, you can buy extra ammunition satchels, you can buy a camouflage outfit, you can buy abilities that increase the speed at which you repair various vehicles, and so on. Not only can you buy them, you can easily buy all of them, diluting what little sense of character development the game has. And it is character development, as they're permanent improvements you make to your character. But it's character development in the most tangential sense, and it's just not enough of a reward. But that's the only reason to keep playing, because the gunplay is not very good at all, and the quests you're grinding are dog's body nonsense, and the alleged story could well be straight out of an MMORPG. Imagine an online RPG without levels or statistics or items. The very idea doesn't work, but that's exactly what Far Cry 2 is. The game is set in Africa in a pretty enormous open world. There are jungles and savanna, rolling green hills and red rocky cliffs, huge, sparse deserts, and everything in between. It all looks fantastic. It's certainly not Crysis, but it's a truly gorgeous game. There's only one initial loading screen, and after that it all streams, which is pretty incredible, and for anyone who likes to take nature walks in games, you can finally uninstall Oblivion. It's also especially impressive, as the game is only a 3.7GB install. The wood must be procedurally generated for it to be such a tiny install, because most other games of this volume of content and visual fidelity would be far closer to the 10GB range. It doesn't really alter the experience, but it does make the game even more technologically marvellous. The story is extremely scant, You're a mercenary and you're sent in to assassinate a man who armed both sides in a brutal civil war that's ravaging the country. You end up latching onto a number of other characters in the quest hubs, all of whom are forgettable in the extreme, and the game does its best to make you not care about the story at all. After a legitimately cool Half-Life tram intro that shows off the gorgeous engine, stunning and diverse environments, and the impossible to not love propagating fire, you run through a quick tutorial where the game teaches you all the basics you need to know to get through the game. Far Cry 2 is the first-person shooter I've played in years that actually warrants a tutorial. It's hardly a complex game, but there are a lot of things you need to learn to play it properly. Dotted around the environment you'll find quest givers, guard outposts, safe houses, weapon vendors, quick travel points, ceasefire zones, and more. And each element of the game has its own rules to learn. Being an open world game, you can progress at your own pace, but the game is quite linear. After you finish the tutorial, you're pretty much left to your own devices. But although Far Cry 2 is an open world game, the only thing you can actually do is missions. There's nothing in the game at all besides missions. There are 32 main missions and then a whole bunch of optional side missions and buddy missions. Missions are everywhere in Far Cry 2. But whether you're doing a main mission or a side mission, you'll always get some kind of talking head spewing non-information, and then you go and kill whatever needs killing or blow up whatever needs blowing up. These talking heads are barely tolerable, and the voice acting is consistently one notch below terrible, which won't help you pay attention to the stuff they're saying, which is already extremely boring, and as the mission objective screen is far more quick and concise, this still feels utterly redundant. But what is impressive about these moments is the animations. The way the characters move is very fluid and they move around a lot, gesturing with their hands in a realistic fashion, which makes them interesting to watch. Ubisoft has long been one of the best when it comes to animations, and Far Cry 2 definitely won't disappoint if you enjoy that sort of thing, but animations alone aren't enough, and you'll probably be thankful when you can skip mission briefings and frustrated when you can't. The mission types differ from each other in only the most superficial of ways, and as there are only around 4 mission types, it's very easy to tire of the game very quickly. In fact, just like Assassin's Creed, you can play the game for about 2 hours and then you've seen absolutely everything the game will ever show you, yet somehow the game manages to be a good 12 hours long at least. If you've just got to catch them all, you can expect it to last closer to 30 hours. After accepting a mission, you have to get to your target, which makes up the bulk of the gameplay. You're either going to run, swim, drive or sail to your objective, which can take anywhere from a few seconds to 5 minutes or more, and it's one of the best and worst parts of the game. Far Cry 2 is a very immersive game in its presentation. Driving and sailing are done from the first person, which is slightly unusual, as a lot of games tend to pop to third person during driving sequences, but it's certainly welcome. You can't swivel your head around like the girl from The Exorcist, and you can see your body when you look down, giving you a good sense that you actually are your character, and not just a floating hand. You'll also see your hand reach out to open doors, and when you heal yourself, you'll dig out bullets, pop joints back into place and inject healing ampules into your body, all giving you a sense that you're a real person. It actually infuriates me that more games don't do this sort of thing, particularly when it comes to doors. There's so much more potential for immersion than most first-person games bother with, and it's great to see Far Cry 2 making the effort. Looking down when not in a vehicle though, your body is strangely absent, which is a shame. You also have a map and a GPS, but these items are actual objects in the game world, so the only way you can use them is to holster your weapon and whip them out. The game doesn't drop to a menu or anything, it's all in-game, and you can't use your weapons without putting your map away, which is fantastic. You can also use your map while driving, though dynamic colour coding of signposts gives you a pretty good idea of where you want to go if you don't want to spend your whole time staring at maps, which is cool and is done in just subtle enough a way that it doesn't hurt the immersion. All of this stuff gives you a strong sense that you really are your character, and that you really are in the environment, and it makes the simple act of getting from A to B such a pleasure, which is a good thing because, like I said before, you'll spend a hell of a lot of time getting from A to B. The problem is that they only take the idea halfway. Though you feel like a character in the environment doesn't feel real. It looks magnificent and is superficially convincing, but at no point does it ever feel real. There are almost no animals in the environment, and those few there are just the 4-legged herbivores, which is boring. There are also absolutely no civilians. Everyone is either an enemy soldier or you, and it's both unconvincing and shallow that everyone should be your enemy and know you to be an enemy immediately after spotting you.